I guess most important is get the commissioners right up front so you guys can hear.
Okay, we here?
We're here.
And in the back.
Whoever wants to hear, come up close.
Okay.
Right here.
All right. Well, why don't we get started? My name's Carl Swing with the Long Beach office of the Coastal Commission. I'm the Coastal Program Manager for Orange County. With me here today is Amber Dobson, who is the analyst on the project, and Dr. Jonna Engel, who's our staff ecologist. I just wanted to take a minute to talk about the exhibit packet that we passed out. In total, there's 8 maps in that packet. The first one is a graphic that shows our routes and stops on an aerial. The second graphic is basically the same route information on top of the current project use areas. And then the third graphic is shows our stop locations, limits of proposed grading, and that's the black crosshatch on the graphic, as well as important habitat areas, which are in shades of blue, green, and purple.
We're number 1.
We're currently at location number 1. And I'm mainly going to refer to the second and third graphics, which Amber is holding here. The additional maps are supporting documents. And did you want to say anything about those?
Well, the additional maps are derived from Dudek's vegetation map, their seasonal pond and vernal pool map, and their riparian map. But I'll point them out. Oh, this is Dudek's vegetation map. This is our compilation of the seasonal or the special status wildlife map. These are our compilations of Dudek's riparian, vernal pool, and seasonal pond map. And the black hatching, as Carl said, is the development impact footprint. And then the green layer, the next map, is our compilation of Dudek's vegetation, sensitive vegetation map.
It says here limits of proposed development. I thought you just said that we had it already there.
Oh, I probably said it wrong.
Okay.
Limit of proposed
Proposed
development. Sorry.
No problem.
Correct me if I.
So what do you mean by that, though?
The development includes the grading, so it's the limits of work on all the activities of the site.
So this hatch part is where the development would be.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. That's inside the black patch.
That's the limits of grade.
Got it.
Yeah, so it would include development and properties to be graded to facilitate the development.
That's
Right.
Okay, one last map. The purple is, I showed you the sensitive or the special status species map with all the individual species earlier. That was mostly yellow. This is our compilation of special status species and gnatcatcher and cactusman territories. So we'll, for the most part today, be referring to this compilation, and there's a lot of layering here of vegetation and special status species. Not so much the wetlands. Well, there's some overlap with the wetlands, but they stick out a little more. So.
All right, so the reason we're standing here, we're looking down at an overlook of the proposed Bluff Road at its intersection with Coast Highway. The open area that you see, the unvegetated area down there closest to the highway, is basically where the entrance to the road would come onto the property. The road would follow this depression roughly. It starts out as a 4-lane road closest to the highway. 2 traffic lanes, 2 turn lanes, and then transitions to a 2-lane roadway as it moves north.
Show that on the map. Yeah.
Right here.
Yes, the gray line. Okay. So the road would be 62 feet wide. This location is get an 82-foot wide right of way, sidewalks on each side, and a 10-foot wide median. This is also the location of the northwest and northeast polygons that were discussed this morning. I'll have John point those out in just a moment. And then also just, off in the distance is the Sunset Ridge Park under construction, which was in front of the commission in 2012. Then I'll have John talk for a moment about the special status wildlife resources down this area, and then we'll talk about what's behind us.
Okay, so this afternoon, clearly I can't cover all of the native habitats and sensitive species that are mapped in these areas, so I'm just going to cover some of the more conspicuous native habitats or species. So I want to point out to you, okay, we're at 1, and you see that there is all that purple. That's because there are several gnatcatcher territories in this area. The slope behind me has a combination of both maritime succulent scrub and coastal sage scrub. Right at your feet, this is dried out. All of this is dried out in Encilia, which is the dominant coastal sage scrub species. It's the Encilia alliance. That most of the coastal sage scrub species on this site is comprised of the Encilia. Also, there's some buckwheat, California buckwheat across the leg. You can't see it that well. And right here is the Cholla cactus. That's an indicator species of the maritime succulent scrub. So, regarding the southeast and northeast polygons, they are right below us. It's hard to see them, but all this kind of lush vegetation on the floor of this canyon is in the corner by the road is the northwest polygon that Andrew showed you photos of with the passive restoration where the habitat is returned very nicely with just weeding. Above, there's a barrier area, that's the southeast polygon, and it is, northeast polygon, and where's Andrew? What's the status on the restoration there?
That area, ice plate was removed, that's why you see the barrier.
Okay. And then that southeast polygon is where you see that orange fencing that's being kind of preserved for after the Sunset Ridge Park is completed, then that will be restored.
Is Sunset Ridge where the big crane is?
Yes.
There is a lot of ice plant. So, he said that has been removed. Is that, talk a little bit about the ice plant that's here. An invasive, is that what it is?
That the ice plant over the years has really taken a foothold, and it seems that a lot of the ongoing impacts have facilitated the growth of the ice plant at the expense of native habitat.
But in a restoration ice plant, fairly straightforward to remove it and
Yes.
revegetate?
Yeah, yes. There's several different methods, herbiciding it. People use black plastic to cover it and solarize it and kill it, and just leave it in place as erosion control, and let the plants come up underneath the dead ice plant. So ice plant is a pretty easy invasive to deal with.
And Carl, was this area here graded at one point? I mean, it looks like there's been a lot of grading down in that area. Is that part of the oil operation they did that for?
Well, if I recall things correctly, that area was graded in the 60s.
I see.
By Caltrans.
Highway 55. This is not a natural
Right.
canyon.
This
Okay.
area is not.
This is not one of the natural canyons.
This was that was envisioned for to have a major roadway coming up here and connecting to 405.
Okay.
One of the things I wanted to mention about the roadway in this location, it does swing out in that direction into the slope over in that area in order to avoid the polygons we were just talking about. Where we are standing now, this is part of the linear bluff part. The bluffs just below us and around this direction would be, within a conservation area. So at this point, what I'd like everybody to do is kind of turn your backs to me and have a look in that direction.
So you're
Although
saying
my
this area
view
on
is
your
kind of
Linear park.
area would be restoration.
blocked unexpectedly. Yeah, so the area to the north and west is the proposed 11.1 acres, 75 units, resort hotel and residential complex. Further to the north in that direction would be the South Family Village. This entire area would be graded as is shown in the crosshatch area on the exhibits. And then,
So, within the development footprint, in terms of sensitive vegetation, what we would see if we were on the other side of these buildings is a very flat area that has it has ice plant, but there's also significant areas of purple needlegrass, grassland, and saltgrass flats, and it's also burrowing owl territory. We drove past it, but it is. You can look at your map on number 1, and you'll see both a lot of sensitive wildlife, and the green is the vegetation, and that green is mostly purple needlegrass grassland and saltgrass flats, and then burrowing owl and some natural catcher territories.
What's the proposed height of it?
oh, that's a good question. 55 feet.
What do these buildings do? What are they? Their function?
These buildings here, they're the offices for part of the oil operation. So we're going to head over to our next stop. The buses are going to drive along the bluff top in this direction. We'd basically be following the route of the Bluff Park. The maritime succulent scrub growing on the bluffs along Coast Highway would be part of a conservation area. The hotel is going to be on your right-hand side. The route's going to loop around, and we're going to head that direction. At about halfway there, we're going to transition from the footprint of the resort hotel complex to the South Family Village residential development.
So this little Caltrans canyon, when did that happen, and with this, I just question that it's been so disturbed, because it appears that it was a canyon made by Caltrans.
It was graded as part of the...
So do you think that the next it used to just be flat all the way across?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you mentioned this area here, Johnny. You said that purple needlegrass mixed with this.
Saltgrass flats. That saltgrass is a back wetland indicator.
And then there was something about this area would all be graded. But what's the restoration opportunities? If there's all this ice plant mixed in, can you get needlegrass restoration? Are they proposing restoration on top of graded areas, or how is that going to work?
I have not gotten into the details.
Oh, okay.
As far as I understand, Carl, correct me if I'm wrong, the black diagonal lines are all development footprint, and the outside is where the restoration would occur.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so if we look at the graphic here,
So that's
The green areas on this graphic would be part of the conservation and restoration areas.
So what I said was not completely
So-
right. Sorry.
So some areas that are just
The light
will be
green.
disturbed with the hatch lines might be restored.
Yes.
The lighter green would be the conservation areas. The darker green is the bluff part. So that's
And I know the commissioners hear this on every field trip, and that this is really for, this is a field trip, it's informational, this isn't a hearing on this project. So we're going to take additional questions for, just about the site, but this is part of the record on the project, and I want the public to understand. This is part of the hearing, and when there is a hearing on this, there'll be a full and complete hearing.
Thank you.
Are we in agreement that as to what is the staff of the applicant? That all of the green areas here are space.
Yes.
This is not a question of if it hasn't been graded.
No. What is on the ground? Currently, we are not in agreement with everything, but what is on the ground now is we are in agreement.
Okay, everyone,
I mean,
staff of the applicant.
what's on this map
That what's green is sensitive.
yes.
came from the applicant.
Okay, good. Dudek is the applicant.
Yes.
Well, NDR is the applicant. That's
No, I mean, it's the firm.
applicant's right.
Can you walk us through on that map that you have right there, what's gonna be restored, what's gonna be open space? Just so we're all on the same page. I thought you said the yellow was the
Well, just generally speaking, I mean, the areas in light green are within the habitat conservation restoration area. The dark green lowlands is part of that as well.
Conservation.
No,
It is more blue.
You said dark green. That's,
Okay.
Oh, right.
So
The aqua color.
Aqua color.
the aqua color is what? Gonna be restored, left
Restored.
Completely preserved.
So,
And conservation.
okay, but, right.
So no grading, no filling in that area.
Not for the development. So,
What is that?
Could be grading and restoration activities.
right.
Grading and restoration.
Got it.
So when we look at this hash marks, these are grading. Some of
that
grading is also
Yeah.
restoration. It covers all of that. Hash marks. Yeah, it has. Oh, I see.
So this is the limits of grading. It does include the trails that would go down into the lowlands area. It's not depicting areas that would get disturbed as part of restoration. Here.
So, and then the rest of this, yeah. Alright, so then can you walk through the rest of it, the light green,
So the light green is a linear, so the medium green is a linear park, and that will be, the medium green is a linear park called Bluff Park, and that will be native vegetation. This will be a developed park. The very, very dark green is a developed park, like a ball field park with softball fields and soccer fields. And then the rest of it, some areas will be preserved. That's where the limits of grading come in. So you can see the main arroyo will be preserved. And then other areas that are in the light green that will be impacted will be part of the open habitat conservation plan.
and then the yellow and the pink are actually developed.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
the yellow is the residential product area. The red or
Salmon.
salmon color there is part of the resort hotel complex. And then this pink area is the mixed, higher density mixed use development, commercial and residential.
How many acres altogether?
For
For the whole state?
It's 401 acres approximately.
And how many acres are going to be salmon and
The salmon is approximately 11 acres.
83 in total. 83 are the pink and the yellows.
No, altogether, yes.
And what's this?
That is the oil consolidation area, and it's connected by a road to this other oil consolidation area.
And that's the area where oil operations will continue on the property. We're actually going to have an overlook of this area, and we'll talk about that when we get to that.
That's
area.
private land, and we don't get title into that, right?
It's
Not on
private.
the time.
And something that I am not really clear in my head about is that there's a lot of black hashing that is included with not up here, but along this edge. I'm not sure why it's still going to be filled and graded, filled or graded, and then yet restored to what's there, restored. So I don't understand why there's necessary grading there. But we haven't gotten into a lot of that detail.
Those are probably let's move on. What do we mean by
So when the oil operation
So let's get back on the bus.
then that area would be turned over to the conservation area.
How high is the
Standing at location number 2 on the map, which is this location here. I like hers. We are currently in the footprint of the 14.3 acre South Family Village. We're looking down onto the continuation of Bluff Road. Looking in this direction, you'll see 3 palm trees between these 2 buildings. That's where 15th Street, the proposed extension of 15th Street would come onto the site and connect to Bluff Road. The area on the far side of the road would be developed with the community park and undeveloped open space. Actually, we can see right in the foreground there, the lighter green area, that's the Ticonderoga Pond, which would be outside the graded footprint.
So is that building inside the property? The glass
No,
building?
no, that's at the property line.
So the park is on this side.
The park is on this side. Yeah. You want to go ahead and talk
Sure,
about the resources?
So you might remember from my presentation a photograph of that building, and what I was depicting was large swaths or patches of purple needlegrass, which on this population map, that is the habitat that is the green here. All this green here map marks purple needlegrass habitat, and then this purple area is where burrowing owls have been sighted and the burrowing owl territory.
Okay. So we're going to, from this point, move over to another point here, but just as we're walking that direction, just wanted you to know that out this area, that is where the South Family Village would be constructed, as well as a little bit north of us here as well. Where that would be our view now. In front of that building, this is
The big building and the little building.
this building here. Is that where also where the burrowing owls have occurred? All right, why don't we move on to our next stop here? It's a turkey vulture.
Gorgeous.
Okay, so from this vantage, we're just looking north. Wanted to point out the location of the southern arroyo. If you see these white posts that are in this location here, they sweep out to the bottom of the arroyo there. That is roughly the grading footprint. The area to the left of those, the left of those posts would be in the conservation area. The area to the right of the posts would be within the grading footprint. So again, 15th Street would come onto the property in that direction. Roughly where we're standing would be the public parkway, the Bluff Park, which does, as you can see, involve some grading. If you look at the white posts. And then again, this direction is the South Family Village, and it sweeps up toward this area as well.
And just a little clarification, this is a little arm of the southern canyon or arroyo. So this is, if you see the riparian habitat over to my back, that's really within the southern arroyo. There's often little fingers or tributaries of the main arroyo and the north-south arroyo. In terms of the mapped sensitive vegetation within the development footprint, there is a combination of saltgrass flats, purple needlegrass grassland, and coastal sage scrub all around us. And that would be this green, remember it's a compilation of different map sensitive habitat, but all these green patches are those different habitat types, that sensitive vegetation types.
Is this deep green what I'm seeing right now here?
Yes, yes. And that's all that is all outside the development footprint. It's being preserved. See, you don't, and even this little,
This looks like it's never been right there.
yes.
It was maybe never has that. So that's a natural.
So when
This
you
is
talk
the
about the
natural
northern
arroyo.
extent of the arroyo, is that the white posts that are about 300 feet, 300 yards down that way?
Excuse me, we are recording this, so we'll be able to post it. So we're going to try and have one conversation going on so that people who weren't able to connect can hear all of it.
Yeah, where the end.
I had a question on how you're getting across this. That's
Yeah, you can't see it.
Yeah, you can't see that.
Yeah,
Off in
that's
that
on the other
direction.
one.
It would be graded down here. The road
You have a ridge in the middle and then
being graded through that area. So. So, and then I fortunately have Dr. Mark Johnson here with us, and he just wanted to mention the location of one of the geologic constraints.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention briefly. Amber mentioned when she introduced, there's an active fault that runs through the property here. It's been identified in two separate areas. It's a little hard to point out on the ground here, so I'm just going to go to the map here. It has been identified in several trenches in this area, and in several trenches down in this area. The developer has agreed to assume that it's continuous between those two areas, and there's a fault setback zone that is accommodated by open space or underneath the road or in this active park, and just clips this footprint of the South Family Villages. So we've asked them for some refinement of exactly how they're going to do their subdivision with respect to the fault setback zone.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, in the interest of time, we had a third stop, but we're going to bypass that stop. But I did want to mention that on our route over to stop number 4, the buses are going to pause within the footprint of the North Family Village. And where did John go? There you are. I wanted John to talk just a moment about the resources in that location and the reason why we're sort of pausing there.
Okay, so if everyone who has a map can pull out this compilation of the sensitive vegetation, special status wildlife, and wetlands. The area we're talking about is we're going to stop within the development footprint on a little road that is in a kind of a hollows because it's within the north-south arroyo, which you can really see clearly. Here's this is the southern arroyo, and then as I described it, there's kind of tributaries. There's a north-south arroyo, which is well mapped by the sensitive vegetation and wildlife. It's this right here. And what we're going to look at is where's Rudy? Will we be going? Rudy, are we going through it toward? Which direction will the buses be going?
Excuse me, sorry. I was just trying to decide that. I'm just trying to figure out what's easier for the buses.
Maybe we could just
Want to loop around and just want to turn on? All right, we'll turn on it. So we're going to cut it this way, we'll turn left.
So we're going to go up this way and then around. Okay, so in the bus, depending on what side you're sitting on, to your right, you're going to see Vernal Pool E, which has the federally listed San Diego Ferry shrimp in it. That's right there. Which one? This little guy. No, it's right here. So it's right here.
Okay, not that guy.
Not this. Yeah. We'll also talk about that.
Okay.
And then to your right, you'll be looking down the north-south arroyo to the ocean. And I just want to point out that there are patches of maritime succulent scrub where historically cactus wren have been surveyed, nesting. So those are within the development footprint.
John, could I ask a question? This arroyo right beneath us, it appears to be completely out of the development envelope. Is that some of the most sensitive habitat, or is there a reason the arroyos have greater resource values?
I wouldn't put it that way.
Okay, yeah, no, that's why I'm asking.
It's just terrible.
What makes it more? What's the environmental diversities that we're looking for in the arroyos?
Well, the arroyos.
The drainage,
It's landform alteration as well.
it's both.
Yeah.
And there certainly is a lot of concentrated biological resources in the arroyos, but they're also on the mesa tops too.
Are they travel corridors for animals, typically, or not?
Yes.
There's a pack of about 7 trailers.
Okay.
All right. Why don't we board the buses again, and we're going to head on to what will be stop number 4 on your maps.
Yes, I have. This is, I guess what I'm saying is that at this site. Oh, yeah, please.
Because this I mean, it's some of that.
All right, why don't we get started? So right now we are at location number 4 on our map, which is right here near the edge of the northern residential complex. We're currently looking down on part of the 17-acre oil consolidation site. I don't know if you're going to be able to see them very well, but just so you know where the edge of the property is, there's a yellow balloon over there. There's another visible. And if I understand correctly, those are this location. So I just want to talk about the oil facilities for a moment. The project does anticipate removal of all the oil-related facilities, including wells, paths, pipelines, paths, roads, and other equipment and buildings associated with the oil operation from much of the project site. The oil operation would be reduced to the 8.6 acre area that we're looking down on now, and then that 4.8 acre area that we passed through when we came onto the property originally. And there's a 2 acre roadway connecting the two that direction. Wells would be closed and equipment removed as is required in any well closure by the State Department of Oil, Gas, and Geothermal Resources, DOGGR. There would be a significant soil remediation program undertaken throughout the property. That remediation isn't being ordered by any public agency, but would be undertaken by the applicant to allow for use of the property for residential, commercial, and recreational purposes. The remediation involves excavation of soils up to 10 feet deep, stockpiling it for treatment, and placing that soil on the site where it can be capped with clean soils. Where we're standing right at this location would be part of the Blufftop Park. Narrow green band there. Fill for the housing development in the park would extend out onto this slope. It also includes a grading down to the lowlands there. A public trail would be constructed on that and connecting up to the trail system in the lowlands. There would also be the storm drain system and water quality basin down in that area that would be servicing the development. Jonna, do you want to talk for a moment?
Okay, I'm going to have you look at your sensitive vegetation compilation map and point out that where we are, there's this little finger of all that industrial you saw behind us, and all around us, behind me, is transitional habitat, a combination of coastal sage scrub and maritime chaparral. And right here, kind of a cool plant, you can see why it's aptly named bladderpod. It's one of the indicator species of maritime succulent scrub. There's also the Paracactus, and all surrounding us is the Encilia in different states of dried outness, for lack of a better word. There's some pretty healthy or lush Encilia right below us, and then some patches of the prickly pear cactus, this sensitive vegetation. So then I'm going to have you turn to the special status wildlife yellow map. We've got lots of maps here. This one. Again, that finger is right here. And in 2013, there were two territories of gnatcatchers. One on this slope here, which is this guy here, gnatcatcher territory. And then we'll be walking around, and you'll see these are little cuts in the mesa going down to the lower mesa. They're kind of ravines or little arroyos. And all along the slope, that's where you see the territories of the gnatcatcher and several other sensitive wildlife species. So that's all I have to say here.
Thank you.
So,
In the lowlands, there's roads. Are they going away? What's going to happen down there?
well, I was going to talk about that at our next stop.
Okay.
We're just going to walk up this rise,
Oh, okay.
sort of the far side of the white truck.
Could I ask one question here? You know, the upland, maybe to John, but the upland habitat conservation area, as it's called on this map, that sort of looks like it's on the bluff. Are they proposing any kind of restoration there, or is it just protection by virtue of not development?
Now, this is all preliminary. Everything's subject to change, but as Carl explained, this will be filled or graded and filled, and then restored, as I understand it, to native habitat.
So these slopes would be subject to revegetation and regrading, is what you're saying? No, there's not going to be grading.
Yes, there is.
No, on this slope
Yes.
there is.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Toxic remediation. This property.
I'm not going to get into those. Why don't we walk up this direction? More than 2 shovels.
That's 18th Street. That's where Wendy Reese lives.
Amber, where are you?
All right. So where we're standing now is about this location. We're right at the border of sort of the dividing line between the North Family Colony and the road that encircles it. Looking north, toward a view of the lowlands. The limits of grading, they aren't quite represented by the white posts here. They do extend off in, the limits of grading extend off into the distance there. The lowlands wetlands, they are part of the applicant's proposed habitat conservation and restoration plan. Overall, the HMC puts 257 acres of the 401 acre property in a restoration conservation program. Also from this vantage, you can see the cell tower off in the distance there. That is approximately the location of the high-density urban colony with the mixed residential and commercial uses. And then, of course, this area behind us is all part of the North Family Colony, which is this whole area. John, I just want to...
Pretty much what I said over there applies over here. We've got a mixture of coastal sage scrub and maritime succulent scrub, sensitive vegetation, and gnatcatcher habitat behind us. I wanted to ask Andrew, I'm looking way out, you see a real beautiful patch of maritime succulent scrub. You can see the prickly pear. I believe that's definitely outside the development footprint. I believe that's the reference site for the ongoing restoration. Where's Andrew? Oh, okay. But I'm pretty sure
I can answer for you. That is the example that we're trying to emulate in all of our plans. So you're quite correct.
How long?
The reference site.
That is the reference site. Okay.
If this were left like this, how long before native vegetation's gone? Because it seems like it's just pushing everything.
is it a 20-year process? Is it 5 years? Is it what?
It's so dependent on a lot of factors.
Well, in a normal non-drought time, what would it be?
I think you would never have it take over completely.
Right, I know that, not
Okay.
completely, but it could.
I
guess
actually
here's the
don't.
question: could it become the dominant species
I think it's on its way to becoming the dominant species.
if it's left like it is?
Yes.
It's left.
Okay.
So, just let me know when we're going to talk as we leave for the main vernal pools that we'll see on their right.
Yeah, we're at that point. You know, before we board the buses, I wanted to say a few things. John is going to talk about the vernal pools a bit more that we're going to see on the way out. So just a few things to note that once we get off the property and turned back onto Coast Highway, at the corner of Superior and Coast Highway is the Sunset Ridge Park project that we saw. About 200 yards north of that point, we'll be passing the entry to Bluff Road that we saw at stop number 1. And then almost immediately right there would also be the planned pedestrian bridge going from the NBR property over to the seaward side of the Coast Highway. So,
Is the house or the building structure down there, is that still on the property?
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, there is.
And the one in the tree.
Yes.
Okay. So all of that will go by.
Yesterday there was a balloon showing the property line. I think it's gone.
Yeah, there is a low set of power lines. They're not quite the big set out there, but come this way about 500 feet. The property line is all the way out there and all the way to the levee here at the Santa Ana River.
Is that the balloon, Bobby? And that will be
The
trails.
pole there, the power pole.
No, not that one.
Oh, I think down below there might be a top.
Okay.
That's not the property. Any of this property going to be sold, or is it?
As part of this project, that the lowlands area would be in the conservation area.
Okay, so nothing is going to be marketed. It's not going to be sold.
I think there's talk of potentially doing a wetland mitigation bank of some kind, but that idea wasn't really perfected in the application.
Who ultimately takes control of the mitigation process?
It's planned to be put into a conservation, a nonprofit that has been formed for that purpose.
Okay, so last topic, if you could look at our compilation of Dudek's riparian, vernal pool, and seasonal wetland mapping. As we leave the site, we're going to go past an area, a vernal pool complex, and the applicant has agreed not to develop a large component of that, the largest vernal pool on the property. The one that we drove by at the head of the north-south Arroyo is also within that complex. It is within the development footprint. Below the vernal pool 1 is what it's called, and vernal pool 2. You'll see orange fencing around vernal pool 1 and vernal pool 2, and vernal pool 2, and then you'll see stakes with pink ribbon around them that mark the watershed, which is also being outside the development footprint. You will see that there's a lot of tiny blue dots. Now, those are mapped by Dudek, vernal pools and seasonal wetlands, and they are scattered throughout the property with underneath the development footprint. I just want to point those out too. So that's I think that's it.
Yeah, so that's all we have planned for the tour today. Thanks very much for coming, and we'll board the buses. What's that?
Good job.